let's get started with Steve Goff. Go ahead, Steve.
Hey, Alex, thanks for your time. I was wondering, amid the pandemic and all the uncertainty and confusion, what has it been like from a player's perspective, waiting to see whether these games will take place, whether the tournament will occur, who the opponents will be, whether the opponents will actually remain in place? What's that experience been like over the last year?
Um, I think that we've realized that we just need to be adaptable and know that because the present and the future is so uncertain, we have to prepare like we're, playing in a really important game in the next week, 2 weeks, month, whatever it is. Have to prepare for the NWSL season coming up, the Challenge Cup, the She Believes tournament, the Olympics. You have to prepare like it's going to happen, knowing that it could be shut down with a moment's notice. And we've seen that in leagues all over the world. And that's just part of the world that we're living in right now. So it's definitely a different mindset, because I never would have imagined that you would just be told that you're not playing a game the next day and be like, okay, but that's literally the mindset you have to take now. And I hopefully we'll get back to some sort of normal sense and we'll get back to some sort of consistency. But I think that there's still foreseeable future of uncertainty here in sports.
Great, thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve. Let's go to Kevin Baxter.
Hey,
Kevin,
Alex.
go ahead.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for your time. Couple of questions for you. First of all, how are you now following your little brush with COVID? How bad was it, and how do you feel now? And secondly, I know you trained right through the pregnancy and you played some games with Tottenham, but you haven't played much with the national team. This is probably the biggest break you've had from games, maybe since you started in AYSO. Megan and Carly both said they came back from their breaks feeling years younger. And I'm wondering, do you feel much better having given your body a little bit of a break? Thank you.
Yeah, no. So I'll start with the first question. I actually, had a lot of symptoms from COVID. I was fairly sick, and me and my whole family got it. So, well, my whole family, meaning Servando and Charlie. So with that said, we were together for, 10, 12, 14 days, kind of just recovering, sleeping as much as we could. I was fighting off a little bit of fever for quite a few days, but as I got back and kind of took the right steps to get my body back into shape, I started to feel really good after about like 3 weeks or so. But it did take a little bit, and it took a lot of patience as well on my end. When I look at the break that I have had, it's kind of been an interesting one because it's been a really inconsistent one. I think that that's just the theme, inconsistency. I think everyone has had that. So I look at myself, and although over the last year and a half, I haven't really played in that many games, and I've kind of been barely in and out with the national team here and there due to pregnancy, due to COVID and other things. I don't feel like I'm that different than a lot of my teammates, because of the pandemic and just people getting COVID, people getting injuries, not having a place to play for quite a few months at a time. So we've all had kind of different paths over the last year and a half, but in a way, no one's been able to consistently train and play. And I think that if there is like a silver lining in this, it is that like all of our bodies could have probably used a break that we would never have gotten until we retired, if not for this pandemic. So for me, I feel like it did like re-spark just that like passion for the game and me feeling like really excited every day going to training. And now also having Charlie, I feel like I'm making the most of it when I go to training. I don't want to give 90%. I want to make sure I give 100% every time I go to training because that's pulling me away from Charlie. So I do definitely feel re-energized and just being back in camp and here for a very important tournament is just really exciting for me. So I'm looking forward to the games a lot.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kev. Let's go to Julia Poe. Julia, go ahead.
Hey Alex, Julia Poe with the Orlando Sentinel. Thanks so much for your time today. I've got two questions for you. First, being back with the Pride, what is it like working with Sydney Leroux, another mom who's also, trying to make a comeback in a big way this year? Just what has that relationship been like? And then second, as a Taylor Swift fan, how are you feeling about the new album today? I was just wondering if you had any thoughts on that.
Oh, this is best news ever that she re-recorded Fearless, and like half you guys don't even know what we're talking about right now, but big Taylor Swift fan, and I just love what she's doing, and she is a huge inspiration to me. So I'm very happy about that news. Secondly, I've been playing on and off with Sid for the last, since 2007 or so. So it's been a long time playing with Sid. We've gotten to know each other super well on and off the field. And even though we haven't really played consistently together, we were doing some preseason training like a week or two ago. And we were just like linking up so well together. And I was having so much fun playing with her. And then we would, walk off the field and just be like, oh, what's Rue doing right now? What's Charlie doing right now? Like, oh, what's her nap schedule? What's hers? Like, what, sort of pajamas do you have? Like, we talked about just like everything, and it's things that if you don't have a kid you would just not be interested in. So I feel like I could talk up a storm with Sid about her kids and her journey back to playing, and I'm really happy to have Sid on the team just to be able to like help guide me, because she has been here many times or quite a few years with kids, and this is kind of really my first go around into a full season. Tottenham was kind of like a mini season for me, so, and there wasn't really travel like there is in the US in the NWSL season. So I feel like having Sid on my team, having another mom to kind of be able to lean on in certain times is really important for me.
Thanks, Julia. Let's go to Carlos Eustace. Carlos, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hi, Erin. Hi, Alex. Good to see you again.
You too.
I've seen you since France. In kind of on the same line as Kevin, from a scale of 1 to sipping a cup of tea against England, how are you feeling match ready? And the second one, I mean, I'm gonna piggyback on Julia on the Taylor Swift. What's been has it been your anthem? Because in my house, my wife's a huge fan. So throughout the pandemic, Taylor Swift has consistently been the anthem of our pandemic.
Honestly, every time I'm in the car with my husband, I turn on Taylor Swift, and he's like, "Haven't you listened to her enough?" I'm like, "No, there's no such thing." So there's that. But yeah. We can continue talking about Taylor this whole time. I'm totally fine with that. And from 1 to sipping tea, I would say I'm kind of like waiting for the tea to cool down right now to take a sip. I'm not quite there, but it's like it's coming soon enough.
Well, that's great.
Awesome. We're going to be pouring her that tea, though. Trust me. Let's go to Nancy Armour. Hey, Nancy, go ahead.
Hello, Alex. Thanks for doing this. I have two questions for you. First, how much of a break or an advantage was it for you to have the extra year with Tokyo? I know you touched on that a little bit. And then the second question is, you've been around the team before when there've been, babies or kids, but I'm curious, being a mom now, what it's like to see your teammates or Charlie in that environment, and how do you look at it differently, knowing the impact your teammates are going to have on her going forward?
I think it's just so fun to have Charlie around and for her to get used to like having a lot of people around and different people, you know, just like holding her, playing with her, and her to be just around all these incredible women that are so strong, you know, such a intense environment, and she's just kind of, I think, brightens up the room, and I think it like lightens everyone up, and just having seen this before with, you know, even Kate Markgraf, Christy Armpone, Sid, Amy Rodriguez, so many others. It's really fun to now be in that position. However, like my life has definitely made a 180. You know, when we have an afternoon, you know, gap between trainings or whatever it is, it's not like, oh, let me lay down and like watch TV and take like a nap, whether that's 45 minutes or 3 hours. It's like I'm hanging out with Charlie the whole time and I'm on her schedule, and I absolutely love it. But it's just very, yeah, it's different for sure. And the first question you asked, can you go back to?
Yeah. How much of an advantage was it for you to have this extra year to get ready for Tokyo, or how big of a push would it have been to get back in game shape and back at elite tournament level shape that soon after having Charlie, if the Olympics had taken place on schedule?
Yeah, if the Olympics had already taken place, I mean, it would have been an incredible challenge, and I definitely wanted to do my best to be on the field at Tokyo in 2020. But I knew that honestly, some of it really wasn't up to me. It was up to just how my body was going to recover. So not having to go through that and being able to elongate like my recovery and everything from the birth. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It was very helpful, and and I'm very happy that I was able to get an extra amount of time and be able to still compete for a spot in the Olympics.
Awesome.
Great,
Thanks,
thank you.
Nancy. Let's go to Asif Byrne. Go ahead, Asif.
Hi, Alex. Great to see you back in the national team. Coming from England, I just wanted to ask you if you'd be able to explain exactly why you didn't take up your option to stay at Tottenham for the remainder of the WSL season. As you're away from your husband, was it always going to be a short-term deal, or did the UK lockdowns influence your decision? And at this stage in your life and career, would you ever consider playing in European club football again?
To be honest, if someone would have asked me even like 9 months or a year ago if I would have considered playing in Europe, I would have said no. So I think moving forward, it's kind of unfair for me to say no, that I won't consider it, because I didn't think I would and I went. So I think it's just with uncertainty moving forward, you never know. It could always happen like it did. And when I look at my my stint in London with Tottenham, I had an amazing time. And initially when I did sign, I thought that it was going to be a short-term deal. Kind of that was like my mindset going into it, because I thought that, you know, the NWSL would start back up. I wanted to also be available for all of the training days with the national team. I knew it was also going to be a strain on our family, you know, being across the world, not having Charlie be able to see a lot of her cousins or grandparents, and for Servando to ask him to, you know, move there or not be with us if he was going to continue to pursue playing soccer as well, I think would have been really difficult. As I went through season with Tottenham, I really enjoyed my time, and I really loved it more than I expected. I got to know the girls a lot more than I thought, and the decision ended up being a lot harder than I expected. And I really weighed both sides for quite a few weeks. I had some conversations with Rianne, also with some other people within the club, and a lot of my teammates. I think ultimately it just came down to, you know, coming back to the US, because that would, you know, that way I would keep our family as close together as possible, given the circumstances. And just with the pandemic continuing to really extend into 2021, I felt like it was just best for me to be in the US and just be available for the national team and start off a full season with Orlando Pride rather than going to Tottenham late, then finishing season with Tottenham, then going to Orlando Pride late. I felt like I wanted to start off preseason with one team and go through an entire season with one team.
Thanks, Al. Let's go to last couple for Alex here. Let's go to Jeff Kasuk. Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Alex, thanks for taking the time. Obviously, a lot has changed, in this pandemic world in terms of how things are operating and protocols and that. But I'm wondering, with the protocols that are in place in camp and at games, even though things look different, do you feel like you as a player can kind of still go through your routine, whether that's the on-the-field training or even just like what you want to do in that downtime? Do you feel like you can still kind of operate in a comfortable way?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say US Soccer has put on a great camp that makes all of the players and staff feel very safe, protected and taken care of, as well as like giving us opportunities to continue to do what we need to do to continue to train on the field, to continue to do the recovery tools that we need, not feel like we're trapped in a hotel. I feel like we do have a lot of limitations, but but this is the world that we're living in. So we want to protect ourselves and protect each other as well. So, in the back of my mind, I'm always like, what am I doing? Knowing, I want to make sure that I'm not only protecting myself and Charlie, but I'm doing the right things to protect the rest of the team. Because we know just how contagious this virus is, and we all want to continue playing and doing what we love, and we've been able to do it so far without a shutdown, and we want it to continue to be like that, and that hasn't been the case for a lot of leagues and teams around the world. So we've been very fortunate and had really great protocols in place, and so I'm really excited for these games because I feel like we're really optimistic about them. We're in a really good place right now. I think a lot of players are really excited for the opportunity to play top teams. Regardless of Japan dropping out, I think we have 3 amazing teams that we're looking forward to playing. And we're preparing like these are preparation games for the Olympics.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, last one for Alex goes to Steph Young. Go ahead, Steph.
Thanks, Aaron, and thanks, Alex, for the time. Since you said you were happy to talk about Taylor Swift, favorite songs off of, Evermore? Mine is No Body, No Crime, and also do the themes of Evermore resonate with you? Because I think it comes from a much more mature Taylor Swift who's had a more complex relationship with friendship and romance. So,
yes. I love No Body, No Crime because as well, but I think like Marjorie is definitely top 2 for sure. I also just love Willow. It's kind of just, I could replay it over and over. And I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I play the like whole album on repeat. I feel like I can continue to talk about Taylor, and you guys are, half of you are like annoyed with this and half of you are like, me too, I love Marjorie, but yeah, the album is amazing. And now I'm really excited to go back and look at Fearless because she said that she has 6 new songs. I think it's like 6 new songs she added on Fearless. So right after this, I'm about to go and check those songs out. So yeah, I got to go, guys.
All right. Well,
hi, if you're
Charlie,
like, okay, we're cutting this off.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Al. Really appreciate it. We're going to go dark here and sanitize, and we'll come back with Emily Sonnet.
Thanks,
Al.
guys.